Your phone lights up, you see the message thread, and your stomach drops before you even read anything. The little scene marker sits there like a verdict, or there's no marker at all, just silence. Your brain starts filling the silence with sound. They're annoyed. I said something wrong. They're pulling away. You refresh. You reread your last sentence like it's evidence. You zoom in on punctuation, and you tell yourself you're just being careful, just being socially intelligent, just trying not to mess it up. Here's the pattern break. You're not overthinking the conversation, you're overprotecting your status. And that's not a character flaw, it's a nervous system reflex. By the end, you'll have one map you can run in real time, one sentence that cuts the spiral in under 5 seconds, and a 2-minute install that turns silence back into neutral data so you can act with dignity instead of panic. Let me open a few loops and close them cleanly. The real reason silence wrecks you isn't neediness. There's a tiny moment your brain flips from communication to threat, and you keep missing it. You have 2 motivational systems, and you keep feeding the one that makes you check again. And there's a single line you can say on one breath that puts you back in charge. First, let's name the loop you keep living in. You feel a gap in response. Your body reacts like the gap is danger. Your mind tries to solve the danger by scanning for meaning. Scanning turns into rereading. Rereading turns into checking. Checking turns into a story. And the story turns into a self-judgment. I'm too much. I'm embarrassing. I always do this. I shouldn't have sent that. Time passes, and now the silence is heavier. Not because the other person did anything, but because your brain has built a whole emotional room around one empty notification. The first cost is time, obvious but real. The second cost is self-trust. Every refresh is a tiny vote for, I can't handle uncertainty. The third cost is identity. You start operating like someone who is always waiting to be approved, always waiting to be safe, always one message away from feeling okay. And then there's the quiet shame moment you don't usually admit. The screenshot to a friend, the obsessive reread, the subtle bargaining with yourself. I'm not going to check again. And then checking anyway 10 seconds later. You don't do this because you're weak. You do it because your brain is built to treat social belonging as survival. And when it detects ambiguity, it tries to close the gap fast. Here's what your brain is doing in plain language. It's running predictions about safety. Silence is ambiguous, and ambiguity is a special kind of fuel for the threat system because it can't resolve it. So your mind tries to resolve it by generating explanations. And here's the problem. When the threat system is active, your brain does not search for the most accurate explanation. It searches for the explanation that keeps you vigilant. Vigilance feels like control, even when it makes you miserable. That's why one harmless delay can feel like rejection. It's not logic, it's protective prediction. Now, the map. I call it the signal ladder, and it is simple enough to remember when your heart is beating faster. Picture a ladder leaning against a wall. At the bottom rung is signal, middle rung is story, top rung is self. The signal ladder. Signal is the raw fact, no reply yet, a short reply, a delayed reply, a neutral emoji, a curt sentence. Story is what your brain adds. They're mad, I'm being ignored, I'm not important. Self is where it gets painful. I'm unlikable, I'm always the problem. I shouldn't have spoken. The signal ladder. Most spirals happen because you jump from signal to self in one step. Like your mind takes an elevator straight to a personal verdict. The signal ladder gives you a rule. You only climb one rung at a time, and you don't treat story as truth. The signal ladder. Let's walk it through with a scene you recognize. You send a message. You place your phone down. 2 minutes later, you pick it up just to check. There it is, no reply. Your chest tightens. That tightness is the silent moment you keep missing. It's the switch. Your brain has just decided without words, this is a threat. And once that switch flips, you can't reason your way out because reasoning is slower than threat detection. So we don't fight it with logic first. We interrupt it with a protocol that speaks the brain's native language, sensation, attention, and a clear next action. Here's the one breath interruption, and it's the spine of everything. Inhale normally, exhale a little longer and say, signal, not story. Signal, not story. This is the sentence that cuts the spiral because it puts your mind back on the bottom rung of the signal ladder. Signal, not story. You are not denying feelings. You're stopping your brain from upgrading a neutral cue into a character verdict. Now the first micro action, name the rung you're on, literally. I'm at story, or I just jumped to self. This is not a cute trick. When you name the rung, you move activity from automatic emotional circuits into the circuits that can steer. You're not trying to be calm, you're trying to be accurate. The signal ladder. Second micro action. Take 10 seconds to create body safety. Put both feet on the floor and press them down slightly. Drop your tongue from the roof of your mouth. Unclench the jaw. Let the exhale be longer than the inhale. You're telling your nervous system, we are not under attack. If your body stays in alarm, your mind will keep producing alarm stories. The signal ladder. Now we close the loop about the two motivational systems. There's a part of you that's driven by attachment alarm. Check, 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 fix, fix, fix. It wants relief. It wants certainty. It wants the discomfort gone. Then there's a part of you that's driven by executive direction. Choose the next right move. When you keep checking, you feed the attachment alarm with tiny dopamine hits of maybe this time, and you starve the executive system. That's why it's so hard to stop. You're not addicted to information. You're addicted to the relief you hope the information will provide. So the signal ladder install gives you a replacement behavior that provides relief through agency, not through checking. The protocol is called the 2-minute ladder reset, built on the signal ladder, and you can run it anywhere. Here's the if-then rule that triggers it. If you notice you're about to open the thread for the second time within 5 minutes, then you run the 2-minute ladder reset immediately. Not after one more look. Second check is the trigger. You don't need more reassurance. You need a better trigger. Now run it in natural speech. You look at the raw signal and state it like a camera. No reply in 10 minutes. Or they replied with one word, or they changed the subject. Then you say the sentence on one exhale. Signal, not story. Then you do a 30-second environment tweak that breaks the loop. Turn the phone face down and put it just out of reach, or switch it to another room, or place it under a notebook. The point is not punishment. The point is reducing friction for the checking habit. Under 30 seconds. Then you do the key step that keeps the mind from climbing to self. You generate 2 alternative stories that are boring and plausible. Not positive fantasies. Boring. They're busy. They saw it and will reply later. They're thinking. They're driving. They're tired. They don't know what to say. Your brain hates boring explanations because boring doesn't give it a threat to solve, but boring is often accurate. This closes the loop about why you spiral. Your brain is trying to resolve ambiguity with a dramatic narrative because drama feels like certainty. 2 boring alternatives interrupt that, the signal ladder. Now you choose your next move from the executive system, and it must take under 1 minute. This is where the identity shift happens. You become someone who chooses on purpose. You either send one clean, clarifying message that is emotionally safe, or you stop engaging and return to your life. If you choose to message, keep it neutral and concrete. Hey, quick check, did you see my last note? Or no rush, reply when you can. Not a long explanation, not a self-defense, not a fishing expedition. One line. If you choose not to message, you do a micro redirect that locks your attention back into reality. Stand up and take 10 steps, drink water, open a document and type 1 sentence. Wash 1 dish, put 1 thing away. Tiny action. Why? Because attention is embodied. When your body moves, your brain updates its prediction. We are not frozen. The signal ladder. Now let's address the shame directly, because that's what keeps this loop sticky. You might think, if I stop checking, I'm pretending I don't care. Or, if I don't fix it now, I'll lose them. Or, if I don't respond perfectly, I'll look needy. Pause. Notice how those thoughts all assume you're unsafe unless you manage the other person's perception. That is the protective function. Your checking is an attempt to control the outcome so you don't have to feel vulnerable. That's not evil. That's human. It's actually protection. It's your brain trying to keep you from the sting of being rejected, ignored, misunderstood. The problem is the method. The method turns you into someone who is always waiting. The signal ladder turns you into someone who can tolerate a gap without making it mean something about your worth. The signal ladder. Now we close the loop about the silent moment your brain flips to threat. The moment is physical. The chest squeeze, the throat tightness, the heat in the face, the impulse to check just once. That's the doorway. When you feel it, that's not a sign you should check. That's your cue to run the 2-minute ladder reset. And the 1 breath line, signal not story, is the key because it stops the climb. The signal ladder. We also close the loop about feeding the wrong system. When you check, you feed the attachment alarm. When you run the ladder reset, you feed the executive system. Over time, you feel calmer not because people always respond faster, but because you trust yourself to handle the gap. That's the real upgrade. And here's the hard truth that becomes relief. You cannot control how fast someone replies, but you can control what you make it mean. You don't need more information about them. You need a cleaner relationship with uncertainty. The signal ladder. Let's return to the opening scene upgraded. The phone is in your hand. You see the thread, your stomach drops, you notice the urge to refresh. This time you don't obey it automatically. You exhale. Signal, not story. You name the rung. I'm at story. You put the phone face down out of reach. You generate 2 boring alternatives. You choose one clean next action. Maybe you send one neutral line, or maybe you don't. Either way, you feel something new, self-respect. You're not numb, you're not detached. You're directed. That's the difference. You become someone who chooses on purpose. Your experiment for the next 24 hours is simple. Pick one moment when silence spikes you. Run the signal ladder once and follow the if-then rule. If you're about to check a second time within 5 minutes, then you do the 2-minute ladder reset. Just once. Let your brain learn that uncertainty can exist without becoming a verdict. If this installed something, share it with someone who turns one quiet chat into a full emotional trial. And if you want one upgrade a day, you're welcome here.